Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Crunching Your Growth. I'm Phil Masiello, your host. And as you know, we focus on the reality of building brands and the grit it takes to actually scale. And today's guest is a personification of that business mechanic mindset. She started as a Division I collegiate swimmer. So she knows a thing or two about discipline, about competition, about staying focused. And she went on to earn an MBA from Florida State before cutting her teeth as in executive management at one of the world's largest retailers. But where she really changed the game was as CEO of DefenderShield. She didn't just run a company, she helped build an entirely new category in health tech from the ground up, working alongside the world's leading scientists to bring EMF awareness to the mainstream. Now she's taking that mission a step further. She's the visionary and CEO of Lightbody, a brand focused on inside-out resilience using cutting-edge research to create supplements designed for our modern tech-saturated lives. She's also a yoga instructor, a digital wellness advocate, and a powerhouse entrepreneur who balances all these things while raising two boys and staying active in the training world. So welcome CEO of DefenderShield and Lightbody, Kylen Ribeiro.
Thank
Hi,
you so
Kylen.
much, Phil. That was the best intro I've ever had.
I try. I try and do my best.
And I need
Um,
to update my bio because I have one more on the way actually now.
do you really?
Yes.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
great.
you.
That's fantastic. I had five, so I raised five. So I, uh,
You are a
I love
saint.
kids. Yeah, it's great. So why don't you take us back? Tell us the whole story. I kind of brushed on it, but I gave it really broad strokes. I think you have an extremely interesting background for an entrepreneur, and it would be great to hear, how you went from all these steps and sort of what they've taught you along the way.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, I was an athlete my whole life. I was a swimmer and I ended up on a scholarship to Florida State. So, I was raised in North Carolina, but then I migrated to Florida to go to school and I've been here ever since. And that was obviously from a young, 4 years old is when I started swimming, and I never wanted to stop. And I never took a break, and I never wanted to take a break, and I never wanted to quit, and I just wanted to go as far as I could with it. So, luckily that, allowed me to go to college, on a scholarship and meet, and that while going to school, obviously. And then I finished swimming, finished my undergrad, and then I decided to get my MBA because my dad was an entrepreneur, and I always just thought I would be in business. I didn't really know exactly what, but I just always knew I would get a business degree. So I did that, and like you mentioned, I got a very very good opportunity with one of the world's largest international grocery retailers.
Mm,
And I was directly placed in an executive training role. So I had to do everything in that role from running retail stores to then after that year-long training process, managing multiple stores up to 7 stores at the same time at a very young age,
yeah.
like 22. And most people working for me were much older than that.
Yeah.
So that taught me so much about management and just how to work with all kinds of different people and how to gain their respect, really. And it's one thing that retailer taught me is, and I always have believed this, is you have to set the example as the manager. And the great thing about that program is you had to prove that you could do all of the jobs they can do
Yeah.
before managing those jobs. And I think that's a very unique take because not every company has the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But it's so valuable. And then, you know, once you're in it, you actually know how to do every single one of those jobs that you're managing. So if you made it through, not everyone did, um, you kind of earn that respect. And then, just treating them like people and humans. And at a young age, not being a parent yet, that's also something I've learned being much more far along in my career is like you just gain this empathy that you can't have unless you have children or your own family. Um, and that's like true. I mean, you can't, like a 22, 23-year-old can't have doesn't have the same life experience as, some of my managers had lots of kids and, families they were raising. And you can have sympathy, but you can't really empathize until you've been there, especially
Sure.
moms. Um, so I stayed there for a tenure of about 6 years, and then I got pregnant with my first son. And because of the demanding schedule and just job that was, I decided I wanted to take a step back and, focus on being a mom for a little bit. And, it was my first child. So I took a couple of years off to do that. And in the meantime, actually, towards the end of my time at that retailer, I did a yoga teacher training program because I was very into yoga ever since I got done swimming. I started doing yoga and it just really became a passion. I just loved it. I never actually intended on teaching yoga because that's just not really my personality.
Yeah.
But I did this program because I felt a little bit stagnant in life, and that was before I had kids, obviously.
Yeah.
There's nothing stagnant about life once you have kids, but so I did this program, and in the program I met Ryan DeBon. He and his father had co-founded DefenderShield a few years prior to that. And so I'm not a co-founder of DefenderShield, though I am an owner now. So I met Ryan. He explained what the products were, and at that time there were only a few. He had just come out with their first cell phone case, or was working on it. It was like the iPhone 5 back then. And essentially, he explained how there are electromagnetic frequencies that emit from all of our mobile devices. And he had come to learn and done a lot of research, him and his dad, who was a telecom engineer for 30 years, Daniel DeBon, that there are negative health impacts based on all the science and what the science is showing, even though it's not very public knowledge, especially back then. I mean, that was 10 years ago. So this is an example of one of our products, and it's a cell phone case. So it has very highly specialized shielding in the front cover. So when you're talking on the phone, you are not getting that direct brain body contact with your device. So that is the concept of all of our products. We have dozens and hundreds of products at this point. These are AirTube earbuds, another product that completely emits the radiation that would come from Bluetooth and wireless headphones, which having those in your brain all day, every day, well, the truth is there haven't been really scientific studies yet to show us what the effects of that are, but a lot of people innately feel like that's probably not safe and not a good idea. So we have a solution for that. This is our literal best-selling product right here. So I had learned about the products, learned about the company, and I just thought, wow, that's really impactful. That's so important. And that's something I've never heard of. And yeah, I kind of left it at that. I was still working at the previous retailer. By the way, I was pregnant that whole yoga teacher training, which I did not know when I signed up for it. But I finished that. And so when I had my son, after a few months, I was like, well, I can teach yoga. I can do that. So I started doing that here and there. And after a while, when I was going to go back and, work more full time, I reached out to Ryan and I said, hey, I remember what you're doing. How are you guys? I would love to be a part of it. I just feel like it's very important and I want to do something meaningful and health related that can help people live healthier lives. And he said, hey, why don't you come meet with me and my dad and, bring your resume. And so I brought my resume and I was willing to do anything. I didn't really actually want a very demanding job. I really wanted just something simple, that I could just kind of, not high stress or anything, because I was very used to that. And I just knew with, having a young kid, that's just not where I was at that point. Well, so I met with Dan and Ryan, and Dan looked at my resume. He goes, oh, you're kind of overqualified for what we need right now, which is just customer service. And I was like, I know, but I just want to do that. That's fine for me. And, needless to say, very quickly, I was managing everything and hiring teams and all of that and filling all the holes. But at that time, it was just them two and me, and we had like one other person that was doing customer service. But I really helped structure the whole company, build out all of the different departments and hire for all those positions and like just set up the operations that have evolved a lot over the past 8 years. But it's been a lot of fun and it's been a very unique experience. And I'm very grateful to have had this opportunity because it's very rare that,
Yeah.
I don't know, someone with my background would fall into this role. But um, Ryan unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And that was when I really sort of took over being like a very big partner in the business with Dan. And, it's had a lot of challenges over the past few years. I mean, it's had
I'm
challenges
sure.
from the beginning, but it's very niche. It's a very somewhat controversial topic that I think more and more people are opening their eyes to. But we've been here for 15 years, solid, providing education and evidence for why you should probably protect yourself and try to minimize your exposure in this day and age. And that's only growing every single day with all of the, you know, you go to buy a new appliance and it's trying to be a smart appliance.
Yeah, I
And
know.
if
It
you
drives me
think,
crazy.
agree, I'm like, I don't need that. I just want it to wash my clothes. I don't need my app to tell it to do that. Um, but if you think about if you had a home that had every single appliance as a smart appliance, that is a single source of emissions, each one of those. And so it exacerbates in our environments. And that's one of the things we have a lot of principles that we talk about, but we've kind of come up with a few like my cornerstones for how to sort of wrap your mind around how to reduce your exposure. And one of those is reducing the sources around you.
Yeah.
So just understanding what those sources are. They're anything from an iPad, a tablet, an iPhone, a phone, Wi-Fi, any smart device, any Alexa or whatever,
Well, it's,
Google
it goes.
Home.
It's even more than that. I mean, we just redid our kitchen, and you can't find an oven today that isn't a smart oven that's Wi-Fi enabled, microwave, my refrigerator. And I sat there saying, I'm looking at the microwave going, why would I want to attach this to the Wi-Fi? Like, what can I do? Okay, I can use my app to open the microwave, but then I still have to walk over, put my thing in it, right? Then I can use the app to close it, or I could push the button to close it, right? And then when it's done, I mean, it made no sense to me, but then I realized what the real purpose is on all of it. The real purpose on the refrigerator, the real purpose on the oven, the real purpose, it's just to gather information for the manufacturer because they want to know who's using it, how you're using it, and all that stuff. So I don't download the apps and I don't enable the Wi-Fi because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Why do I need my refrigerator to be Wi-Fi enabled? Like, what am I going to do? I still have to open the door. I still have to reach in. I still have to grab it. The oven, I still have to go over. I still have to turn it on. I have to set it. I have to open the door, put the item in. So it just doesn't make any sense. And I don't want anybody gathering all that information because what good is it? My coffee
Absolutely.
machine, though, I will tell you, I do use because I set it up the night before, and then I do have my if I'm running late, I can stop it from brewing and reset the brewing and all that stuff. So that's the only thing I do. But
Yes, it's interesting. And there are more and more companies they are smart home, like they will implement these just smart homes. And while some people are very tech forward, and they want all of that connectivity and that technology, and that's fine. You have to make your own choices. But as someone with kids, I'm a very huge proponent of we need to, kids are the most vulnerable, babies, kids, pregnant women, to all of these signals because their bodies just aren't fully developed and they have a lot more water content and water conducts these signals better in the body. Their brains aren't fully developed, their skulls aren't fully developed, their soft tissue, the rate at which they're growing and their cells are multiplying if there were to be some sort of gene mutation due to this exposure, at very high levels, for maybe during pregnancy, you might not know or connect that, but later on in life, it could cause, we don't know. This stuff hasn't been around for that long, and the technology is advancing at such a rapid pace, and there's really no one looking out for us in the whole scheme of it, like our health. It's, of course, about making the most money they can. So we have to always, of course, I think we know by this point, take our own health into our own hands. And the more knowledge that we have, the better. So me and my COO, we actually wrote a book. It's a kid's book, to try to teach kids about the effects that technology could have in a way that they could understand. It's called Henry's Tech Free Trip. It's kind of cute. But just in general, I try to, when I go in public and talk on podcasts, I really that's something I'm super passionate about because I am a mom of young kids and I understand how hard it is to raise them in this world where screens are everywhere, you know, the emissions are everywhere. And so, how can we sort of try to protect our kids as much as we can and teach them safe tech habits also? And that is a very big challenge in today's world, for sure.
Yeah. Especially when they start to get of, 7, 8, 9, and they start playing video games, and then it becomes uh, a whole event. But, you know, we were fortunate in the fact that we always had the kids involved in sports, and for some reason, we don't have really we have a TV in the house, but nobody really watches TV. I mean, the only time it's on is for sports games, baseball or football, and, that type of stuff, and, so we don't have TVs in rooms, in, like, bedrooms and things like that, but it is difficult because I can remember when my son was starting to play video games, and it became annoying because that's sort of all he wanted to do. He'd come home from school, he'd play video games for a little while. We'd go to a baseball game or whatever it was, and then come home and he'd want to play for a little while, and I was relieved when he took up sailing because for some reason that had an effect on him that he didn't care about video games anymore. He just wanted to sail, and we're not sailors. He picked it up at camp, so and that was sort of his. That became his thing, and he just wanted to be on the water. That was what he wanted, and that kept him away, I think, from the video game world. And the rest of my kids are girls, and they never played video games. Their biggest thing was listening to music and doing Instagram.
Uh-huh.
So, but still, you're on a screen. But
Uh-huh.
I think it was a lot. They spent a lot less time because they were focused on their academics. So,
Yes, of course, I'm a huge proponent of sports, and I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're both my husband actually also was a swimmer. I met him at Florida State, and he then got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He is Brazilian, and he now has his own gym. That became his passion and his life's work. So that's the sport my kids are doing as their number one sport. And sadly, they don't want to swim. But maybe this third child, she will maybe want to swim. Although I know it's so hard. Swimming is extremely difficult for parents. I am grateful my parents, supported that sport because it's really grueling for parents. The early mornings and the long weekends in a pool is just,
I didn't find it grueling for the parents. I found it grueling for me. I started swimming at a late age because I wanted to do triathlons, and it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, tried to take up swimming because I swim like an otter, and it's great for people who can stay on top of the water and they go and it's like almost effortless, and then you're just going, you're just working on your technique to go faster. But for me, it was just it was a struggle. Swimming a mile or 2 miles was just like a struggle, you know.
well, I have a lot of respect for people that take it up late in life because I know how hard it is. It's
Oof.
not something that comes natural unless you've started at a young age. But keeping your obviously I think that it's twofold. Number 1, keeping your kids active and busy, like, physically active, especially boys. I have 2 boys, and, like, the key to, like, life is, like, making sure they get all their energy out. So,
Right.
sports is a great way, obviously, but then just not having the default thing be like, oh, like you were saying before your son took up sailing, like his default thing in between other things was just like video games. And some kids, it's an iPad. Like, it's like, get home from school, go on the iPad. Go to your thing, get on the iPad. Like, kind of taking that away as like the go to thing and making it be like a rare. Like, I'm about balance. I mean, our company, we're realistic. We're not like, do away with technology, it's killing
Yeah,
us. Like,
yeah.
we're not extreme because we know people aren't gonna relate to that and they're not gonna
Right.
buy into that, and that's not possible in this world. You just have to have balance. And it's hard even as adults and parents, especially if we work online or whatever, spending so much time in front of the screen during the day and then using our phone all night. Like, it's something we have to also be the example of for our kids. If we say, no, we're not doing screens right now, but yet the parents on their phone, it's like the example that we set. So we have to be very mindful of that.
Yeah, and the hard part is that it's everywhere, right? You buy a car today and it's, you've got the screen in the car in addition to your what do you call it? Your speedometer and all that. You have another screen just for, your music and for your phone and everything. And the kids see that and you're taking text messages or taking phone calls in the car. It's difficult. That's why
They
we
are
sort of
growing
limit.
up in
And what?
such a different time than you or I grew up in.
Yeah,
It's just a
absolutely.
whole 'nother world.
Yeah, but we made a conscious decision, like, we're not TV watchers, right? So we don't have, like, screens in every room, and the kids have they're older now, but they had computers for school, and um they did have phones just because we always wanted to be able to get in touch with them, but they were pretty good. I think if it's all about redirection. Like you said, if you keep them busy, with sports and with activities and plays and things, and then they don't rely on technology as much. What I find is the kids who rely on a lot of technology are the ones whose parents sort of say, go watch I'm busy right now, go watch TV. And I think that's sort of a bad thing to do. And then we always had dogs, and we always had dogs that you have to be active with. And one of my daughters was an equestrian, and she was always at the horse farm. And, so when you get them involved in things that they become passionate about, I think, technology becomes less and less important. Instagram,
100%.
though, Instagram is a killer for young women, I think. But
Yes, I I don't speak so much on the content that's being consumed, but obviously that's a whole 'nother topic that,
yeah.
um right, is like, that's the flip it's not like it's just as perhaps more concerning,
Yeah.
than just the physical effects of the technology.
Oh, no, the stuff that they're consuming, it's all, rainbows and animals and flowers and stuff. I mean, the girls
Well,
are.
you hope.
No, we see it. When we gave our kids, phones, we had technology on it. We could see exactly what they were doing, when they were doing it. They didn't
Yes,
know
that's
about
a
it
good
until they
thing
were older,
to
but we
monitor, yeah.
monitored exactly what was happening, and we gave them guidelines and told them, if anybody you don't know gets in contact, all that stuff. But I know, the girls are, I mean, my daughters, they're in college, and they're not doing normal college stuff. They don't drink, they don't like it. My younger daughter, who turned 21, she went line dancing at a bar. She goes to UCLA. She went line dancing at a bar, and, I said, "Well, how was that?" She goes, "It was good." She goes, "But my friend got a drink, and I thought to myself, I am not paying $10 for a drink. That is ridiculous." And I was like, "Good for you."
That's
So,
great. I mean,
that was
I am aware that the younger generation isn't drinking as much, which is great for
great.
them.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
cannot
think it's
say my
awesome.
college experience was the same.
I don't even wanna talk about my college experience, but, I went to
Um,
college in Miami, and
Swimmers
it was
kind of
not
have a
cool.
reputation.
Ah. Swimmers do?
Mhm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how you can, I
You're
definitely don't
young.
think
That's how.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't get back into a pool after that. I'd be, well, I had a hard enough time getting in the pool at 5 o'clock in the morning anyway. It
No,
was
we
truly
kept
the
it
hardest thing I ever did.
that's I believe you. Uh, you know, we kept we had to separate, the fun times from the hard work. It can't
Yeah,
be too much overlapped or you'll just not make it on the
yeah,
swim team or in school probably.
yeah. Well, I'm in Baltimore, just north of Towson, and I was going to this gym to swim because my triathlon coach was there, and it was the same place that it was Meadowbrook where Michael Phelps used to swim or was swimming. And, you get in there sometimes, he'd be in there and, I'd be trudging down the lane, like, you can see because your head is going both ways, right? Underwater and you could see, and I'd be going down the lane and it would take me like forever. He'd be going just so smooth. And it would make me cry almost. I'd be going, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. But
You
it
are
was
comparing
wild.
yourself to the fastest swimmer of all
I
time.
know.
So, not a
Well, that's
great
what I
comparison.
well, that's what I do. I mean, the first triathlon I ever did, my coach said, he said, "Lay back." He said, when that gun goes off, don't go." He said, "Because you've never done it before. You're gonna be in the middle of a pack. Everybody's gonna go. They're gonna be kicking your goggles off. It's gonna disorient you. Don't do it." I'm like, "Got it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it." I get out there and that gun goes off and I went right in the middle of the pack and just got kicked and everything, and I had to pull off to the side, because I'm just, a little bit nuts. But listen, we're running out of time. We're any closing, remarks? Where can people, go to find your products? Where can they find your book?
Yeah. So I first of all appreciate you giving me exposure to your audience. And I hope if people haven't heard of this, that they learned something or their interest is sparked to research some things more. But DefenderShield.com is our website. We have a huge resource for education. We have years and years of blogs, and we keep releasing new blogs with new technology evolving and things like that. And we're very matter of fact. If there's not a study or science to prove something, we don't fearmonger. We're just
Right,
like,
right,
here are the facts. You can make a decision if you want to provide, some extra protection to you or your family in the form of shielding products. We have dozens of, things that you can use that fit right into your lifestyle. Cell phone cases, earbuds, we have overhead headphones, blankets, clothing, scarves, hats, um, for tablets, for iPads. So there's kind of something for everyone if you want to, reduce your exposure and learn more about the topic. So defendershield.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We're on Amazon as well. So, and the books are also on those channels.
your book is on Amazon?
Yes, Henry's Tech Free Trip. And then Daniel and Ryan wrote a adult guide to EMF radiation called Radiation Nation. And that's also available on all those channels.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and telling your story. Certainly an interesting topic, and I'll look into it more. And I'm sure that a lot of the people that are listening will look into it more. And if anybody's interested, just go to defendershield.com. And if you're interested in the books, they're both on Amazon. So I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, and we will see everybody next time.